Somewhere in the desert, roughly 1,800 years before Jesus, a man named Jacob lay down on the ground and used a stone for a pillow. He was running. He had stolen his brother's blessing. His family was behind him. The wilderness was ahead, and he was alone, more alone than he had ever been, sleeping on rock and dust with nothing between his body and the sky. Genesis 28:12. He dreamed, and in the dream he saw a ladder or a stairway or a ramp set on the earth, with its top reaching into heaven, and figures were ascending and descending on it. When he woke, he said a sentence that would echo across 3,000 years of Jewish
The
thought.
universe does not distinguish
Surely the Lord is
between
in
the
this
dreamer
place,
and the star.
I did not know it.
Both are small.
He did not know it. He was asleep. That sentence, that idea that the most important revelations arrive when we are unconscious, unguarded, lying on dirt with a rock under our head, is the seed of everything that happens in this video. Because roughly 18 centuries later, in a village called Nazareth, another man lay down on a mat in a dark room, and he too received a message in his sleep that changed everything. His name was also Joseph. Matthew's Gospel gives Joseph 4 dreams, 4 separate occasions where an angel appears to him in his sleep with specific instructions. Dream 1, Matthew 1:20. Take Mary as your wife. Do not be afraid. The child is from the Holy Spirit. Dream 2, Matthew 2:13. Rise. Take the child and his mother.
The village materializes
flee to Egypt.
out of morning haze.
Herod is going to
Smoke
search for the
rising from
child to
ovens.
destroy him.
The ordinary
Dream
begins.
3, Matthew
the same
2:19. Rise.
One day,
Take the child
will
and
all
his
be
mother.
Yes.
Go back to Israel.
But the master states
The people
that an
who sought the
unexplained dream
child's
is like
life
an unread
are
letter.
dead.
Yet Rabbi Huna says
Dream
a good
4.
man is
the dream showed
Matthew
me how to save us all.
2:2. Do not go to
We follow the
Judea.
dream to keep
Go
our
to
son
Galilee
safe.
instead. No
The
other
dream.
figure in the entire New Testament
It
receives
changed
this many
everything.
dream messages. Not Peter, not Paul, not Mary herself. The man who never speaks a word in Scripture is the man who hears more from heaven in his
Am I
sleep
the dream,
than anyone else in the story.
or the one
and here is the
who
question.
dreams?
Are
This
you the
video
light
is really
or the
about
darkness around it?
Why did that make sense to the people who
Behold,
first
I
heard
have
Matthew's
dreamed a dream.
Gospel?
This is the meaning,
Why did no one
written
reading
now.
this account
And he
say,
arose and
that's
departed.
just a dream, it doesn't count? Because the world Joseph lived in did not dismiss dreams. It weighed them.
The
It built
surface
institutions around
The
them.
dreams do
It
not.
debated their meaning in
gives
courts
wisdom
and
to the
temples and
wise.
academies for
I saw in my
3,000
dream.
years before Joseph
The time
ever
has
lay
come.
down on that mat in
The
Nazareth.
threshold is
To
crossed.
understand Joseph's night, we have
I
to
must
understand the night itself as the ancient world experienced it. The Hebrew Bible treats dreams as a specific category of divine communication, not the only one, not the most authoritative, but unmistakably real. The pattern begins early. Genesis is saturated with dreamers. Jacob's dream at Bethel, Genesis 28, is the foundational text. A fugitive sleeping on stone. A vision of vertical connection between earth and heaven. A promise this land, this lineage, this future. All
Surely
delivered
the
to a
Lord
man who was
Is in this
unconscious.
place.
The message arrived precisely because he was not in control. Sleep stripped away his defenses, his planning, his cleverness, and left him open to something he could not have received while awake. Then comes Joseph the patriarch, the original, Genesis 37.
Mary,
A teenager who dreams
Wake
that
up.
the sun,
We have
moon,
to
and
go.
11 stars
Now.
bow down to him.
the dream
His
said
brothers
go north,
hate him for it. His
Galilee,
father rebukes him.
to Nazareth.
But the dream
The
is
detour is the
accurate.
destination.
20
I
years
must
later,
go.
exactly what the dream predicted comes to pass. His family bows before him in Egypt. This Joseph, the dreamer of Genesis,
God,
saves
the
his
God of my
entire
father
family
Abraham and
by
the God of
interpreting
Isaac.
Pharaoh's dreams.
The
7
land
fat
on which
cows
you lie, I
and
will give to
7
you.
thin cows,
And behold, my sheep
7
arose and
full
stood
ears
upright,
of
and
grain,
your sheaves gathered
and
around
7
bowed down to my
withered
sheep.
ones.
This dream
The dreams are strange. The interpretation is practical. 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. Store grain now, survive later. A nation's economic policy designed in a dream. Daniel extends the tradition into exile. Babylon, the 6th century BC. A Jewish captive interprets the dreams of Nebuchadnezzar, dreams that the king's own magicians and astrologers could not decode. Daniel 2, an enormous statue made of different metals. Daniel 4, a vast tree cut down to a stump. Each dream is political prophecy, empires rising and falling, power shifting the future encoded in images that only a man trained in the Jewish dream tradition can read. And then a detail that changes the pattern. Numbers 12:6. God speaks directly, "When there is a prophet among you, I make myself known to him in a vision.
This
I
document
speak
is
to
over
him in a dream."
3,000 years old.
Not a metaphor,
It
not a
is
literary
essentially
device,
the first
a stated
dream
method.
dictionary.
Dreams
Holy
are the
Serapis,
declared channel.
hear our
Imagine the
prayers.
scene. This
Guide
is
us
the
to the
tradition
healing sleep.
Joseph of Nazareth inherited. He grew up hearing these stories recited in the synagogue every Sabbath. He knew Jacob's stone. He knew the patriarch Joseph's cows. He knew Daniel's statue. When he lay down on his mat that night in Nazareth, he carried 3,000 years of dream tradition in his cultural memory. A dream was not a glitch in his brain. It was a letter from the other side. 4 dreams, 4 instructions. Each one obeyed immediately. Joseph never
The text
questioned a
clearly
single
states the
dream,
interpretation must
not
hold
because
true.
he was
You ignore the
naive,
subsequent passage.
but because
The
he
dream
belonged to a
holds no weight, but the
civilization
sage
that had
Hillel
been taking
disagrees with your
dreams
assessment.
seriously
The passage
since
confirms
before
divine
the pyramids
inspiration,
were
clearly.
finished.
Yet Rav
But
Huna
here's the
argues
part
a full
most people
stomach
miss.
alters the spirit.
The Jews
We must
were
weigh
not
both
the
truths.
only ones. The entire ancient world, from Mesopotamia to Egypt to Greece, built temples, wrote manuals, and trained professionals for one purpose: to listen to what happened when people closed their eyes. Across the ancient Near East, from roughly 3000 BC
A dream
onward,
not interpreted
dreaming was not
is
private.
like a letter
it
not
was
read.
institutional.
A
The
dream follows its
Mesopotamians,
interpretation. The meaning is not fixed in the dream. It is
Babylonians,
activated by the interpreter.
Assyrians
The dream and the
built
waking mind
incubation
negotiate meaning
temples.
together.
The concept was simple and radical. If the gods speak through dreams, then you should go to a special place. Prepare yourself ritually and sleep there deliberately to receive a message. These were not churches. They were receiving stations. Temples designed not for worship, but for sleep. The ritual was specific: purification, fasting, washing, abstaining from certain foods. Then entry into the sacred sleeping chamber. Then sleep. And then in the morning a priest would help you interpret what you had seen. Egypt went further. Papyrus Chester. Beatty III dated to roughly 1275 BC. Now in the British Museum is the oldest surviving dream interpretation manual in human history. It catalogs dreams by type, good dreams and bad dreams. It assigns meanings. It prescribes rituals to counteract dangerous dreams. It treats dreaming as a technical discipline, something that requires expertise training and a manual. The Egyptians also practiced temple incubation, most notably at the temples of Serapis. Pilgrims traveled for days to sleep in these temples, hoping for a divine dream that would heal an
The
illness,
universe does not
resolve a
distinguish
legal
between
dispute,
the
or
dreamer
reveal the
and the
future.
star.
And then the
Both
Greeks.
are small.
The temples of Asclepius, the god of healing, scattered across the Greek world from the 5th century BC onward. Epidaurus, Pergamon, Kos, Athens. Patients came with illnesses that medicine could not cure. They purified themselves. They sacrificed. They entered the abaton, the sleeping hall, and lay down on stone beds surrounded by sacred snakes. In the morning, they told the temple priests what they had dreamed. The priests interpreted. Treatments were prescribed based on dream content. Stone inscriptions at Epidaurus, still readable today, record hundreds of cases: a blind woman who dreamed of the god touching her eyes, and woke up seeing. A paralyzed man who dreamed of walking and rose from the bed mobile.
The
Whether
village
these cures
materializes
were real
out of morning
psychosomatic
haze,
or
smoke rising
fabricated
from ovens.
is beside the point.
The ordinary begins.
The point is, an entire
We share the
medical
same
system
dream, brother.
was built on the premise
One
that the
day,
body's truest
this will all be
diagnosis
true.
arrives
Yes.
during sleep.
But the master
Joseph of
states that an
Nazareth
unexplained
lived at the
dream is like an
intersection of all
unread
these
letter.
traditions.
Yet Rabbi Huna
Jewish
says
dream
a good man
theology
is
from the
dream
Torah,
showed me how to save us all.
Mesopotamian incubation practice still
We
alive
follow
in the
dream
region,
to keep our sons safe.
Egyptian dream science preserved in the
dream.
libraries of Alexandria,
It changed
Greek
everything.
dream medicine practiced in temples a few hundred kilometers from Galilee. He did not live in a world that dismissed dreams. He lived in a world that had spent 3 millennia
the
building
dream?
infrastructure to capture
Or the
them.
one
The Jewish
who
tradition
dreamed?
did
Are you
something
the
the
light or
Egyptians
the
and
darkness
Greeks did
around
not.
it?
It argued with itself about
Behold,
dreams.
I have dreamed
The
a dream.
Talmud,
This
the
is the
vast
meaning,
compilation
written
of
now.
rabbinic discussion
arose and
completed
departed.
around the 5th century AD, but carrying traditions centuries older, devotes an extraordinary section of Tractate
The surfaces
Barakat,
change.
chapters 55
dreams
through
do not.
57, to the question of dreams.
I saw
And
in
what it
my dream,
records is not a
the time
doctrine.
has come.
It is a debate,
The threshold is
a
crossed.
glorious, contradictory,
I must go.
unresolved debate that reveals how seriously and how skeptically the rabbis took the dreaming mind. On one side, dreams are real. Barakat 57. A dream is 1/60th of prophecy, not prophecy itself, not the full weight of a vision from God, but 1/60th, a fraction, a trace element, enough to matter, not enough to build a theology on. Barakat 55a pushes further. A dream that is not interpreted is like a letter that is not read. The metaphor
Surely the
is
Lord
precise.
is in
A
this
letter
place.
exists whether you read it or not. The message is there whether you decode it or not. An uninterpreted dream is not empty. It is unopened. The failure is not in the dream. It is in the dreamer's refusal to engage with what was sent.
Mary,
But then the counterweight.
wake up. We
Rabbi
have to
Meir,
go.
in the same
Now.
tractate, Dreams
The dream
Speak
said, "Go
Falsehood." Zechariah
Galilee,
10:2 is
to
cited.
Nazareth.
Diviners
The
see
detour is the
lies.
destination.
They tell
I must
false
go.
dreams. The tradition contains its own skepticism. Not all dreams are from God. Some are from anxiety.
God,
Some are
the God
from
of my father
indigestion.
Abraham and the God of
Some are
Isaac.
from the residue of the day's thoughts.
the land on
what
which
the
you lie,
Talmud
I will give
calls
to you.
Hir Hore
And behold, my
Hayom,
sheaf arose and stood
the
upright,
reflections
and your
of the
sheaves
day.
gathered around and
And
bowed
then the
down to
most
my sheep.
fascinating
This dream?
line in
You
the
think you will
entire
reign over us,
section.
Joseph? This is too
Rabbi
much.
Hista
The 7
Barakat
fat cows are 7 years of
55b.
plenty. The
A
7 lean
dream
cows are
follows
7
its
years of famine.
interpretation.
Store grain,
The
Joseph.
dream does
Save my
not have a
nation.
fixed meaning. The meaning is activated, created almost by the act of interpretation. The interpreter does not discover the dream's truth. The interpreter
Samuel.
constructs it. The dreamer
Samuel.
and the interpreter together make the dream real. This is not superstition. This is a sophisticated theory of meaning-making. The rabbis understood something that modern psychology would not articulate for another 15 centuries, that the significance of a dream is not locked inside the dream. It is negotiated between the dream and the waking mind that receives it. Matthew is doing something deliberate. The name Joseph Yosef in Hebrew already carries the weight of the greatest dreamer in the Torah. When Matthew names the husband of Mary, every first-century Jewish listener hears the echo.
This
is not
document is over
coincidence.
3,000
This is
years
literary architecture.
It is
and the
essentially
parallels are
the
not
first
subtle.
dream
They are
dictionary.
structural.
Holy
Joseph the
Serapis,
patriarch receives
hear our
dreams that tell
prayers.
him the future.
Guide us to
Genesis
the healing
37. Joseph of Nazareth receives dreams that tell him what to do. Matthew 1:2. Both are instructions for survival delivered during sleep. Joseph the patriarch interprets other people's dreams, the cupbearer, the baker, Pharaoh. Joseph of Nazareth does not interpret, he obeys. The patriarch decodes, the tecton acts. two different relationships with the same channel, but the channel is identical. And the most striking parallel of all, both Josephs saved their families by going to Egypt. The patriarch is taken there against his will and becomes the instrument of survival. The tecton flees there voluntarily carrying a child and becomes the instrument of survival. Egypt, the place of slavery in the Torah, becomes the place of refuge in the gospel. The pattern inverts. The dream is the pivot. Matthew 2:15 makes the connection explicit. He quotes Hosea 11:1, "Out of Egypt I called my son."
A dream not
The original
interpreted
context is
like
the
a letter
Exodus
not
God
read.
bringing Israel
A
out
dream
of
follows
Egypt.
its interpretation. The meaning is not
Matthew
fixed in the
applies it
dream,
to
it
the
is
infant
activated by the
Jesus God,
interpreter. The
bringing
dream and the
his
waking
son
mind
out of
negotiate meaning
Egypt.
together.
The dream that sent Joseph south to Egypt is the same narrative engine that sent the patriarch Joseph south to Egypt a millennium and a half earlier. Here is the detail that separates Joseph from every other dreamer in the biblical tradition. Jacob dreamed at Bethel, and when he woke, he built an altar. He processed, he ritualized, he took time. The patriarch Joseph dreamed of sheaves and stars, and he told his family. He shared, he narrated. He made the dream public. Daniel dreamed and interpreted, and he wrote it down. He documented, he preserved. Joseph of Nazareth dreamed and he acted immediately, without ritual, without narration, without documentation. Matthew 1:24 Egertheus. He rose. The Greek word carries physical force. It is the same word used for resurrection anastasis, rising from the dead, not the gentle waking of a man emerging from rest. The explosive upward motion of a man who has received a command and is already obeying it before his feet touch the ground. He did not build an altar. He did not tell anyone what he dreamed. He did not write it down. As far as we know, he never described the dream to Mary, to his family, to anyone. The dream was private. The action was public. The gap between receiving and doing the gap that every other
Holy
biblical
Serapis,
dreamer fills
hear
with
our
ritual
prayers.
narration or interpretation,
the healing
Joseph
sleep.
left empty. He woke up and went to Mary's father's house. He married her. He named the child. That was his interpretation. Not words, not a theory, not a shrine, an action. We have a word for what Joseph did. We call it faith. But that word has been used so many times, it has lost its edges. What Joseph actually did was simpler and harder than faith. He fell asleep with a plan, the get the quiet divorce, the careful
The text
exit.
clearly states the
And he
interpretation
woke
must
up
hold
with
true.
a different
You ignore the
plan,
subsequent passage.
one
The
that
dream
made
holds
no
no weight,
sense
but
by
the
any
sage
measure
Hillel
he
disagrees
knew.
with your assessment.
The
Keep
passage
her.
confirms divine
Name the
inspiration
child.
clearly.
Yet
Walk
Rav
into
Huna
the
argues
village
a
and
full
absorb
stomach
the
alters the spirit.
consequences.
We
The
must
only
weigh
thing
both
that
truths.
changed between the two plans was a dream. 3,000 years of dreamers. Jacob on his stone, Joseph in his prison, Daniel in his palace, and then Joseph of Nazareth on his reed mat in a room with no plaster and no furniture and a dead oil
A
lamp.
dream not interpreted
The tradition
is
gave
like
him
a
permission
letter
to
not
take the
read.
dream seriously.
A dream follows
The
its
culture gave him a
interpretation. The meaning is not
framework to
fixed in the
receive
dream,
it.
it is activated by the
Torah
interpreter.
gave him a
The
lineage
dream and the
of men
waking
who
mind
heard
negotiate
God in
meaning
the
together.
dark. But the decision to get up, to rise, to move, to act on what he saw behind his eyelids, that was his. Nobody made him get up. The dream didn't compel him. The angel didn't drag him to his feet. He chose to rise. He chose to trust the night more than the day. He chose to bet his entire life on something that happened when he was unconscious. The stars faded. The lamps went out. Joseph walked into the morning carrying something no one else could see. He never put it down.
The dreams do not.
He gives wisdom to the wise.
I saw in my dream